Hello, Damien.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Cool. So I wanted to start with talking about an email that I got from your label, and in this email it was written then that you wanted the album, your next album, to be experienced by people together as a community. Why so?
I think because I don't know how to answer that question. There is something about listening to an album, I think, with a group of friends or people in the same room with somebody that makes it. I think music should be an experience. I think listening to music is an experience. Like when I grew up listening to records, I rarely heard those records on my own, for the most part. Like I grew up listening to, I heard records for them for the first time, like records that changed my life in a huge way. I was always with somebody, always. Even if it was someone I didn't really know, very well.
Can you give an example of a record and a moment when this situation happened?
Yeah, how many do you want? I have a lot of them. Like the very first time I heard there's this what song is that? Crimson and Clover. Do you know that song? Crimson and Clover.
No, I don't.
Beautiful song. I first heard that when. I'll give you another example. Because you don't know that song. Okay. I'll give another example. Let's see. The first time I heard Metallica, Master of Puppets. Do you know that record?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a
Do
huge
you remember where you were when you
metalhead.
first heard that record?
Probably alone in my room.
Okay, so you were alone. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was with a group of friends, and I remember I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of the band before, and but a friend of mine said, "You got to come over and listen to this album." And I was like, "Okay, sure," And we all like the same music. There were some bands that they enjoyed I didn't really care for, but I went over to the house and heard this record by this band Metallica. Instantly being like, "Oh, I love their font," and the front of the record was this graveyard. It looked really cool, The name's really big and ominous, hanging above the, what I'm talking about. And then the first song that comes on is Battery. And I was like, what is this, And I remember just being like, oh my God, this is the heaviest thing I've ever heard in my life, And it wasn't like anything I'd ever heard, because at that point, when that record came out, what was popular on the radio, for as heavy metal goes, what Quiet Riot or Motley Crue, that was, or Bon Jovi. But this is Metallica, you know what I mean? What the hell is this?
True.
It's
heavy
it's
metal.
so metal, and I remember at that point thinking wow, this is really, really heavy. And I want to hear more stuff like this, So this kind of I'm not saying, I'm just saying my record is nothing like that at all, but it's the whole experience. So it's I wanted to bring, I like the idea of people hearing my record for the very first time, in a group setting.
So
seeing the reaction of other people, whoa, what is this? You know what I mean? That's what I'm.
But the whole point would be sharing your reactions to that music, that record.
Yeah, and people talking about it, amongst themselves, you already liked this song, or that the second song was my favorite song, or I'm even encouraging people to write about and post on their social media, what they think about the record. Because so much of it now is, we've become so dependent on the taste testers of music media. we're so dependent, or media in general, we're so dependent on, as a public, on the critic. You know, can you imagine if like all the food you ate was based solely on one person's opinion of what they like? But that's exactly what we're doing. It's like I give this veggie burger an 8.5, as opposed to this macaroni and cheese, I give that a 6. Give me a break. I want people to have their own opinions and decide for themselves. I mean, ultimately they do. You know. I don't know. That's kind of my whole thing about it, I guess. It's really complicated. Maybe it's just maybe I don't know, whatever.
So it's like your public, your fans, they will be the judges. So in a way, they will be the critics, mostly.
Yeah.
And this is why you are hosting listening parties for the record.
That, and because for me, it's also a little bit of a battle. No, battle that's not the right word. There's something about how musicians and record labels are doing things these days. I don't think I'm into anymore. It doesn't work for me. So for me, like, I'll give you an example.
Please.
When an album came out, when a band's record used to come out, like years ago, you didn't really hear anything off of the record until maybe a month before it came out. Or like, or you didn't even know an album was even coming out until maybe like a month or two before the album even came out. Now it's like 6 months before the album comes out. You could stream the entire record on NPR.com. And it's like, by the time the album's even out, it's like, oh, I've heard that, Oh, we've already heard it. But it's not even out yet. Do you know what I'm saying? It's such a weird thing. And now it's like, instead of doing interviews like after an album is out, now we're doing them like months prior to the album being out. It doesn't make any sense to me. We don't like who else does that? Who else does that? I don't know of any other medium that does that. It's called a campaign. It's like campaigns, it's like you drop the thing first, then you go on press junkets, or then you go on a tour, But I don't know, whatever. Maybe I'm just old. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't get it anymore. I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to stop. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to say to you. It's difficult to even like comprehend, or even for me to comprehend or even say, talk about. So I'm just saying there's a lot of attention. There's a lot of attention that's on an album before anybody's even had it before, or listened to it before, or heard it, or got a chance to experience it yet. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
It's like me as the audience, I'm living vicariously through this press guy or this critic, because he's already heard the record months in advance before I even heard it. And I don't know. I don't like the idea of someone else hearing it. Like, I just think that the press is a little bit too privileged, maybe is the word. This is not an attack on the young you or the press, by the way.
But on the other hand, as a press, as a journalist who does this, there is the way I see it is that there is a relationship between labels and press, and it's a fine line that.
But there isn't with the artist.
What do you mean by that?
The relationship exists between the press and the record labels.
Yes, overall, yeah.
Right. But where is the artist fitting into this? What does any of this have to do with the actual music itself? Or the fans? You see what I'm saying? Nothing. It has nothing to do with it. This says, but it has everything to do with the relationship between the press and the record labels, so that they could sell more records. I think.
But don't you think that maybe...
I could be wrong. I don't know. My record labels are probably gonna kill me after this.